In battle, the body must move before the mind finishes its thought. That is why habit is everything. Musashi lived by a code that demanded unshakable rhythm, not just in combat, but in daily life. Discipline was not a choice, it was a weapon. Sharpened each morning before the sun broke the horizon. The weak rely on motivation. The strong rely on routine. Today I will show you how to forge habits so strong they will carry you through war, hunger, betrayal, even solitude. These are not modern hacks or tricks. They are ancient disciplines, tested by sword and silence. From rising before dawn to purging distractions, from eating with intent to training the same motion 1,000 times, these daily rhythms made me unstoppable, and they can do the same for you. But be warned, comfort is the enemy. To walk this path, you must be ruthless with your time and honest with your weakness. If you seek the way, prepare to cut away everything that does not serve it. Now, sharpen your mind and stay with me until the end, because one of these habits, if practiced properly, will change your entire life. And if you are ready to train like a warrior, subscribe to our channel. Each week we sharpen you, mind, body, and will. Rise before the sun, master the morning. Like a warrior, in the darkest hours before dawn, when the world still sleeps, true power awakens. I have lived by the sword for decades, and this truth remains unshaken. The warrior who masters the morning, masters their destiny. Picture yourself now, wrapped in the comfort of warm blankets, that seductive whisper telling you to stay, to linger just a moment longer. This is your first battle of the day. And like any battle, it must be won in your mind before your body moves. I have watched countless warriors fall not to the sword, but to the soft poison of comfort. They train hard, they study technique, but they fail to grasp this fundamental truth. Discipline begins in the hours when others dream. The morning is not just time, it is a weapon. And like any weapon, it must be mastered. Let me show you the way of the morning warrior. When you first wake, before your feet touch the ground, breathe deeply. Feel the cold air fill your lungs. This is not just breathing. It is your first act of defiance against weakness. Your body may protest, may beg for warmth and comfort. But in this resistance lies your path to strength. The pre-dawn hours hold a power that the sleeping masses will never know. In these silent moments, your mind is untouched by the chaos of the day. Here in the darkness, you can forge your spirit with a clarity that daylight cannot match. I developed my deadliest techniques not in the heat of battle, but in these sacred morning hours. When you rise before the sun, you move in harmony with the natural order. Your body learns to anticipate dawn like a sword anticipates the strike. This is not mere routine. It is ritual, and ritual shapes the warrior's spirit. Imagine standing in the cold morning air, your breath visible in the darkness. Begin with movement, not frantic exercise, but deliberate, controlled motion. I would practice the same sword stroke 1,000 times before the sun broke the horizon. The morning became my dojo, silence my teacher. Your morning ritual must be unshakable. Write your thoughts while your mind is clear. Move your body while others dream. Embrace the cold. It will teach you about your own warmth. These are not merely tasks to complete. They are battles to win, and each victory strengthens your spirit. But know this, the hardest part is not the rising. It is the consistency. Any fool can wake early once, driven by momentary inspiration. The warrior's path demands you rise every day, regardless of fatigue, regardless of weather, regardless of desire. This is how habits become armor, and armor becomes strength. When you master the morning, you master time itself. Those extra hours compound like interest in the bank of your life. While others rush to meet the day, you have already conquered it. This is not just about productivity. It is about power. The power to shape your reality before the world imposes its will upon you. Think of each morning as a small war. Your Enemies are comfort, laziness, and the seductive call of sleep. Your allies are discipline, purpose, and the ancient wisdom of warriors who walked this path before you. Victory comes not from fighting these battles, but from winning them before they begin. By making the early rise so deeply ingrained that your body would feel wrong doing anything else. I will tell you what I tell all my students. The morning is not your enemy. Resistance to the morning is your enemy. Embrace this resistance. Thank it for showing you where you must grow stronger. Then defeat it day after day until rising becomes as natural as breathing. Remember, the sun does not wait for those who sleep. Neither does greatness, neither does power, neither does the mastery you seek. The morning hours are your forge. Here you will hammer your spirit into something unbreakable. Tomorrow, when your eyes open in darkness, remember these words. Remember that in this moment, you choose between the path of the warrior and the path of the masses. Choose strength, choose mastery, choose to rise. Because in the war against mediocrity, the morning is your greatest battlefield. And on this battlefield, victory is won in silence, in darkness, in the moments before the world wakes to witness your strength. Eliminate the non-essential. Cut without hesitation. When I faced my first real duel, I carried 2 swords, a bow, and various other weapons. By my last duel, I carried only a wooden sword. This was not a weakening, it was a strengthening. I had learned the most vital lesson of the warrior's path. True power lies not in what you carry, but in what you cut away. Look around you now. Your life is cluttered with weapons that have become chains. Your attention splits between 1,000 glowing screens, each one promising power, delivering weakness. Your time fractures into countless obligations, most of them as useful as a sword made of paper. You have become a warrior drowning in his own arsenal. I see you checking your phone before your morning meditation. I see you breaking your training to answer messages that could wait until sunset. I see you surrounding yourself with objects that promise to make you stronger, but only make you dependent. This is not the way of the warrior. This is the way of the merchant, always acquiring, never mastering. In my years of wandering, I learned to live with what I could carry. A bowl for rice, a scroll for writing, a sword for combat. Each item earned its place through necessity, not convenience. When something did not serve the way, I cut it from my life as cleanly as I would cut down an opponent. There was no hesitation, no attachment, no regret. Today your battles are different, but the principle remains unchanged. Your time is your most sacred possession. Guard it as you would guard your life in combat. When an activity, a relationship, or an obligation does not serve your growth, do not negotiate with it. Cut it away. Your hesitation is your enemy's opportunity. Create boundaries as sharp as a sword's edge. The morning hours are for training. No messages, no distractions, no exceptions. The evening hours are for reflection. No mindless entertainment, no digital noise, no compromise. Your day should flow like a well-executed sword form, each movement purposeful, nothing wasted. Learn to say no with the decisiveness of a killing stroke. When you decline what does not serve your path, you make space for what does. This is not cruelty, it is clarity. The sword does not feel guilt for cutting. The warrior does not feel shame for focusing. Your time and energy are too precious to be spent on what others deem urgent, but is not truly important. Digital distractions are like 1,000 paper cuts to your focus. Each notification, each alert, each just a quick check bleeds away your power. I teach you now what I learned through decades of combat. Divided attention is defeated attention. Choose your moments of connection wisely, then engage fully. When you disengage, do so completely. There is no honor in being always available, only in being always prepared. Your possessions should be few, but meaningful. Each object in your space should serve a clear purpose, like each movement in a sword form. If an item does not contribute to your growth, your peace, or your effectiveness, it is not a possession, it is a burden. Release it without attachment. Your space becomes your dojo. Keep it sacred. Keep it simple. Time blocking is your modern sword form. Divide your day into clear segments, each dedicated to a single purpose. When you train, train completely. When you rest, rest completely. When you work, work completely. This rhythm creates power. Scattered focus creates weakness. The warrior, who tries to do everything, accomplishes nothing. Consider each commitment as you would consider a duel, with full awareness of its cost. Your energy, like your life force, is finite. Spend it on what matters. Everything else is a distraction, disguised as an opportunity. Learn to see through these disguises. Your clarity depends on it. I lived in caves and forests, not because I feared society, but because I understood the power of elimination. In solitude, everything non-essential falls away. You are left with what truly matters. Recreate this clarity in your modern life. Regularly retreat from the chaos. Let silence show you what you must cut away. Your phone is not evil, just as a sword is not evil. But like a sword, it must be mastered, or it will master you. Set strict protocols for its use. Clean your digital space as you would clean your blade. Remove apps that waste your time as you would remove rust from your armor. Be merciless in this maintenance. Remember, the goal of elimination is not deprivation, it is liberation. Each thing you remove creates space for mastery. Each distraction you cut away allows your power to grow. This is how you forge an unshakable practice. This is how you develop the focus that makes you unstoppable. Let others chase more possessions, more commitments, more distractions. You, warrior, will pursue less. Because in less, there is power. In simplicity, there is clarity. In elimination, there is mastery. Cut away the non-essential. Do it now. Do it without hesitation. Your true strength emerges not from what you gain, but from what you dare to release. Train the body relentlessly. Your body is not separate from your spirit. It is the vessel through which your warrior spirit manifests. I have watched countless men with fierce hearts fail because they neglected this truth. They meditated for hours, but could not hold a sword steady. They spoke of warrior wisdom, but gasped for breath after running uphill. This is not the way. When I lived in the mountains, every movement was training. Gathering firewood became an exercise in stance and grip. Carrying water uphill taught me about breath control and endurance. Drawing water from the well strengthened my arms as surely as sword practice. The warrior does not train the body. The warrior lives through the body. Think now of your own vessel. How does it serve you? Can you move with power when needed? Can you hold stillness when required? Your body must be ready not just for the battles you expect, but for those that come without warning. In this modern age, comfort has become your greatest enemy, slowly stealing your strength day by day. The way of relentless training begins with this understanding. Every movement is an opportunity. When you climb stairs, do not trudge. Spring upward, feeling each muscle engage. When you sit, maintain proper posture as if your ancestors were watching. When you walk, move with purpose, as if every step were practice for combat. This is not about exercise, it is about existence. Your body must become your first and most loyal weapon. In my time, I trained with wooden swords, weighing 3 times the normal weight. Today, your training might use your own body weight. Push-ups until your arms shake, squats until your legs burn, planks until your core screams for mercy. Each movement must be executed with full presence, full power. Create rituals that cannot be broken. Begin each day with movement, not gentle stretching, but fierce engagement with your own strength. Feel your heart pound. Welcome the sweat. This is not punishment, it is purification. Your body learns what you demand of it. Demand excellence, and excellence becomes natural. I taught my students to train until exhaustion, then train beyond it. This is where true strength is forged. when your muscles burn and your lungs heave, when your mind screams for rest, this is the moment of transformation. Push through this barrier, not with violence, but with unwavering will. Your limits are not where you think they are. Structure your training like a battle strategy. Each day must have its focus. One day for strength, another for speed, another for endurance. Every day must include movement. The warrior who skips training because of weather, mood, or fatigue has already admitted defeat. Your body must learn that training is not negotiable. It is as essential as breathing. In my duels, I faced men who were stronger, faster, younger, but they had trained for show, for appearance. I had trained for survival. Your body must be ready not just for the challenges you can see, but for those that hide in shadow. Train in heat and cold. Train when tired. Train when your spirit resists. This is how you forge unshakable habits. Your training should be simple but intense, complex. Routines become excuses for mediocrity. I mastered the sword through endless repetition of basic cuts. You master your body through basic movements performed with total commitment. Push-ups, squats, planks, pulls, these are your sword forms. Perfect them. Let each repetition be a meditation on power. Breathwork is not separate from physical training. It is its foundation. Learn to control your breath in motion as well as in stillness. When you train, match your breath to your movement. When you rest, make each breath deliberate. The warrior who masters breath, masters fear, masters fatigue, masters the moment of decisive action. Your body should be like a sword, sharp when needed, but maintained always. This means rest is not laziness. It is preparation. Sleep becomes part of training. Nutrition becomes part of training. Recovery becomes part of training. The warrior who trains relentlessly but neglects recovery is like a sword swung against stone, effective briefly, then broken. In your training, be ruthlessly honest. Can you hold a plank position without shaking? Can you perform 10 perfect push-ups? Can you run a mile without stopping? These are not goals. They are basic requirements. Your body must be capable of more than your daily life demands. This is how you build reserve strength, the power that serves when normal strength fails. The mind will present excuses to avoid training. It will speak of time, of fatigue, of more important matters. The warrior acknowledges these thoughts, then trains. Anyway, every session becomes a victory not just over the body's limitations, but over the mind's resistance. Remember, through relentless training, your body becomes the foundation of everything you achieve. When others falter, you will stand. When others tire, you will advance. When others quit, you will persist. This is the way of the warrior, forging the body into an unshakable weapon of the spirit. Repetition without boredom, the path to mastery. I once watched a young samurai practice 1,000 cuts in a day. His form was perfect, his dedication apparent. Yet when he faced a real opponent, his sword wavered. Why? Because he had practiced the movement, but not understood the essence. He had endured repetition, but missed the path to mastery. Listen carefully, for I will share with you what separates mere practice from true mastery. The weak mind sees repetition as tedious, something to be endured. The warrior mind sees repetition as a spiral staircase, each turn bringing you higher, though you tread the same motion. This is the secret that transformed me from a skilled swordsman into an invincible one. When I developed my two-sword technique, I did not simply swing both blades 10,000 times. Each swing was a question asked of the universe. Each cut was an exploration. How does the balance shift when the left hand leads? How does the right foot respond? What happens to my breath when both swords move as one? In repetition lies the map to understanding. Consider this. A beginner sees a sword cut as one movement. A master sees 100 movements within the cut. The angle of the wrist, the tension in the shoulder, the weight distribution between feet, the alignment of the hips, the coordination of breath. Each repetition is a chance to perfect not one thing, but 100 things. This is how you must approach your daily practices. Whether you train with weights, practice martial forms, or forge your mind through meditation, each repetition should be an investigation. Do not count your repetitions like a prisoner counting days. Count them like a scientist conducting experiments, each one revealing new truths. I tell you now what I discovered through decades of practice. Boredom is a sign of shallow attention. When you feel boredom creeping in, this is not a signal to stop. It is a signal to go deeper, look closer, feel more, understand better. The master finds fascination in the smallest details that the novice cannot even see. Think of the archer, who has shot 1,000,000 arrows. To the observer, each shot looks the same, but the archer feels the subtle differences in the wind, notices the microscopic variations in his grip, senses the tiny shifts in his balance. He is not repeating the same shot 1,000,000 times. He is exploring 1,000,000 aspects of the perfect shot. Your training must follow this principle. When you practice a movement, do not simply move through space. Feel how your body organizes itself. Notice the sequence of muscle engagement. Observe how your breath naturally finds its rhythm. Each repetition is a chance to discover something new about yourself, about the technique, about the nature of movement itself. This is how you transform mundane practice into meditation. This is how you turn repetition into revelation. The warrior's mind finds infinite depth in finite movements. When others grow bored, you grow curious. When others seek variety, you seek understanding. This is the difference between those who practice techniques and those who embody them. Create training drills that force you to explore depth rather than seek novelty. Take a basic movement, a push-up, a punch, a step, and perform it with full presence. Feel how your body adjusts to fatigue. Notice how your mind tries to wander. Observe how your breath changes. Each repetition becomes a mirror, showing you something new about yourself. In my duels, I faced men who knew 1,000 techniques. I won with mastery of a handful. They had scattered their energy like leaves in the wind. I had focused mine like sunlight through a lens. This is the power of deep practice, not collecting many techniques, but truly understanding few. Your mind will resist this path. It will beg for variety, for entertainment, for escape from the discomfort of deep focus. This resistance is your greatest teacher. When you want to switch exercises, go deeper into the one you're doing. When you want to try something new, find something new in what's familiar. This is how you build unshakable skill. Remember, mastery is not about collecting experiences, but about penetrating deeply into experience itself. Each repetition should be like diving into the same spot in the ocean, going deeper each time, discovering new depths in familiar waters. This is how you transform mere movement into artistry, mere practice into mastery. Let others chase novelty. You will chase understanding. Let others collect techniques. You will penetrate essence. Let others grow bored. You will grow powerful. This is the way of the warrior, not to do many things, but to do few things with complete devotion. For in the end, the warrior who has practiced one cut 1,000 times is more formidable than one who has practiced 1,000 cuts once. Choose depth over breadth, mastery over variety, understanding over accumulation. Through repetition, find revelation. Through sameness, find endless variety. Through deep practice, find true mastery. Live with little Spartan simplicity. As power, when I arrived at my first duel, I carried 2 swords, a bow, arrows, armor, and various other weapons. By my last duel, I carried only a wooden sword carved from an oar. This was not a descent into poverty, it was an ascent into power. Each item I shed revealed more of my true strength. Like a sculptor removing stone to reveal the statue within, you live now in an age of excess, where possessions promise power but deliver weakness. Your homes are filled with objects that claim to make life easier, yet they make you soft. Your spaces overflow with things that promise to save time, yet they steal your focus. You have become like a warrior so burdened with armor that he cannot move. I lived in caves and abandoned temples, not because I could not afford better, but because I understood a truth that most warriors never grasp. The fewer possessions you have, the more powerful you become. Each item you own demands a piece of your attention. Each object requires maintenance, protection, thought. Your possessions become like small anchors, tying your spirit to the ground when it should soar. Consider the difference between a sword and a library of scrolls. The scrolls contain more knowledge, but the sword contains more power because its essence is concentrated into a single point. This is how you must learn to live. Not by gathering more, but by distilling what you have into its purest form. In my years of wandering, I owned only what I could carry: a sword, a change of clothes, a bowl for rice, a scroll for writing. Each item earned its place through necessity. This was not deprivation, it was liberation. When a storm approached, I did not worry about protecting possessions. When I needed to move, I could do so instantly. My lack of things became a source of unlimited mobility. You must learn to distinguish between tools and chains. A tool serves your purpose and remains silent when not in use. A chain demands your attention constantly, draining your energy with its mere presence. Look around your space now. How many of your possessions truly serve you? How many merely occupy you? The warrior's home should be like a well-forged sword, nothing extra, nothing wasted, every element essential to its purpose. Clear your space as you would clear your mind before battle. Remove what does not serve. Strip away what does not strengthen. In this removal, you will find power growing. When you reduce your possessions to only what serves your purpose, each item becomes sacred. My bowl was not just a bowl, it was the vessel that sustained my life. Whilst my sword was not just a weapon, it was an extension of my will. My scroll was not just paper, it was the surface where my insights crystallized into wisdom. This is the power of owning little. What remains becomes profound. Your training space needs nothing but space itself. Your sleeping quarters need nothing but what enables rest. Your study requires nothing but what directly serves learning. Anything more becomes a distraction, a weight that pulls you from your path. The warrior who needs many things to practice has not yet understood the essence of practice. I teach you now what the mountains taught me. Simplicity is not the same as poverty. Simplicity is the deliberate choice to own little so that nothing owns you. The merchant seeks to gather more. The warrior seeks to need less. In this lies the power of the true path. Learn to find joy in emptiness. An empty room is full of possibility. An empty schedule is full of potential. An empty hand can grasp anything. This is not philosophy, Gus. It is strategy. The warrior who needs little is difficult to defeat because he has little to lose and everything to gain. Your possessions should be like your movements in combat, economical, purposeful, nothing wasted. Each item should justify its existence through regular use and clear purpose. If an object has not served you in a moon cycle, release it without hesitation. Create clear spaces in your home as you would create clear spaces in your mind during meditation. These empty spaces are not vacant. They are charged with potential. They give you room to move, room to think, room to act without hindrance. The fewer things that surround you, the more clearly you can focus on what matters. Do not be seduced by the myth of convenience. True power lies not in having others or things do what you can do yourself. The warrior who needs many tools to be strong is not truly strong. Find your power in capacity, not in possessions. Remember, everything you own owns a piece of you. Choose your possessions as carefully as you would choose your battles. Let each one earn its place through necessity. When you learn to live with less, you discover more power. When you shed the unnecessary, you find the essential. In simplicity lies strength. Eat simply, fuel for war. I have watched warriors fall not to the sword but to their own appetites. They train with fierce dedication, yet surrender to every craving. They study battle strategy, yet cannot resist the call of feast and wine. They seek to master the sword while remaining slaves to their tongues. This is not the way of the warrior. In my years of wandering, I learned that food is like any weapon. It must serve your purpose, not rule your actions. I ate once per day, near sunset. Rice, simple vegetables, occasionally fish, never more, than would fit in a single bowl. This was not deprivation, it was strategy. A warrior who needs 3 feasts a day is a warrior bound by 3 chains. Your modern world drowns in abundance. Food surrounds you at all hours, each meal more elaborate than the last. You have become like a sword weighted down with ornaments, impressive to look at, but useless in battle. The warrior must learn to distinguish between what the body needs and what the mind craves. Consider how a master swordsmith forges a blade. He does not use every metal he finds. He chooses precisely what the sword requires, no more, no less. This is how you must approach your sustenance. Choose what serves your purpose. Eliminate what merely pleases your palate. Your body is a weapon being forged daily by what you feed it. I teach you now the way of warrior eating. Simplicity is strength. When you simplify your meals, you simplify your mind. When you eat the same foods daily, you free yourself from the tyranny of choice. When you learn to be satisfied with less, you become impossible to control through appetite. This is not merely about health, it is about freedom. The practice begins with awareness. Before you eat, ask yourself, is this fuel or is this distraction? Will this strengthen my purpose or merely satisfy a craving? A warrior takes food like medicine, in measured doses, at specific times, for specific purposes. Everything else is indulgence, and indulgence is weakness. Learn to distinguish true hunger from mere appetite. Hunger is the body's call for fuel. Appetite is the mind's desire for pleasure. The warrior respects the first and masters the second. When you feel the urge to eat, wait. Observe the sensation. Is it necessity speaking or habit? This discernment becomes a form of training. In battle, the overfed warrior carries an invisible burden. His movements are sluggish, his mind clouded, his spirit dulled by excess. But the warrior who eats with purpose moves like wind through leaves. His mind stays sharp, his energy steady, his will unclouded by the fog of digestion. This is the power of eating like a warrior. Create clear structures around your meals. Set times for eating and maintain them with the same discipline you would apply to sword practice. 1 or 2 meals per day, eaten with full attention, is sufficient. The body adapts to whatever rhythm you give it with consistency. Let your eating habits reflect your warrior spirit. Prepare your own food whenever possible. This is not a mundane task. It is part of your training. When you prepare your meals, you control what fuels your body. You learn the difference between what you need and what you want. Each meal becomes a meditation on necessity versus excess. Fast regularly as you would practice fighting without a sword. Learn to function at full capacity even when hungry. This is not punishment, it is preparation. The warrior who can fight with an empty stomach is stronger than one who depends on perfect conditions. Your hunger becomes another weapon in your arsenal. When you do eat, eat with full presence. Do not read, do not talk, do not let your mind wander. Feel the food fueling your body. Observe how different foods affect your energy, your clarity, your strength. You learn to use food as precisely as you would use any other tool. Guard against the seduction of variety. The warrior does not need 50 different flavors to maintain strength. Find what fuels you best and stick to it. Your meals should be like your sword forms, simple, effective, refined through repetition. Let others chase novelty. You will chase mastery. Remember, every time you eat is a decision about who you become. Each meal either strengthens or weakens your warrior spirit. Choose foods that serve your purpose, not your pleasures. Eat at times that align with your training, not your cravings. The power of warrior eating lies not in complex rules, but in simple principles. Eat less than you want. Eat simpler than you're used to. Eat with more purpose than pleasure. These principles forge not just a healthy body, but an unshakable spirit. Those who cannot resist a sweet taste cannot resist any other temptation. Those who eat with warrior discipline forge themselves daily into something stronger. Let your food fuel your power, not drain it. Through this practice, even eating becomes a form of warfare. Write daily. Reflect to refine. Before I wrote the Book of 5 Rings, I spent decades writing nothing but observations in my daily scrolls. Each night, by candlelight, I would record what I had learned, what I had seen, what had failed, what had succeeded. This was not mere documentation. It was meditation through the brush, a way of distilling experience into wisdom. You may wonder why a warrior needs to write. The sword and the brush seem to have little in common. But I tell you now, the warrior who does not reflect remains forever a beginner. The warrior who does not write loses the lessons paid for in blood and sweat. Your mind is like a blade. It must be sharpened daily against the stone of reflection. In combat, there is no time to think. Your body must move with the speed of instinct. But after combat, there must be time to analyze, to understand, to learn. This is where writing becomes your most powerful tool. Through writing, you transform chaos into clarity, confusion into understanding, defeat into lesson. When I developed my two-sword technique, it was not just through physical practice. Each night, I would write about the day's training. How did the weight shift? What happened to my balance? Where did my attention falter? Through writing, patterns emerged that my physical training alone could not reveal. The brush became as important as the blade. This is how you must approach your own journey. At the end of each day, find silence. Take up your brush, or in your time, your pen or your device. Begin with simple questions. What did I learn today? Where did I fail? What made me stronger? What made me weaker? Write without judgment. Write without fear. Write as if no one will ever read your words. Your writing should be like a sword cut, clean, precise, purposeful. Do not waste words on flowery language or self-deception. Write what is true, even if truth brings pain. Write what you observed, even if observation reveals weakness. This honesty with yourself becomes the foundation of all growth. Create a ritual around your writing practice. Choose a specific time, a specific place. Make it as sacred as your training ground. Just as you would never skip sword practice, never skip your writing. The warrior who trains the body but neglects reflection becomes strong but remains ignorant. True power lies in the union of physical prowess and deep understanding. In your writing, look for patterns. Where do you consistently succeed? Where do you repeatedly fail? What triggers cause you to lose focus? What conditions bring out your best? These patterns, once recognized through writing, become the map for your improvement. What remains unconscious cannot be mastered. When I faced difficult opponents, I would write detailed accounts of our encounters. Not just what happened, but what I felt, what I thought, what I feared. Through writing, I could face these fears in silence, understand them, master them. The next time I faced similar challenges, these written reflections became my armor. Your daily writing must go beyond mere events. Write about your goals and how they shift. Write about your doubts and how they speak to you. Write about your victories and what led to them. Write about your failures and what they teach. Through this practice, you begin to see yourself with warrior's clarity. Do not write to impress. Do not write for others. Write as if you are alone in the universe, seeking truth in the darkness. Your writing should be like a sword thrust, direct, honest, reaching for the heart of things. Anything less is a waste of time and energy. Keep your writing where you can review it regularly. Once each moon cycle, read through your observations. Look for wisdom you missed in the moment. Look for blind spots that become visible only with time. Look for the subtle ways you have grown stronger, and the equally subtle ways you have remained. Weak, this practice will feel awkward at first, like holding a sword for the first time. Your thoughts will feel clumsy, your insights shallow. This is natural. Like any skill, writing deepens with practice. The more you write, the clearer your thoughts become. The more you reflect, the sharper your understanding grows. Some days, you will resist this practice. You will tell yourself you are too tired, too busy, that there is nothing worth recording. These are the most important days to write. Push through this resistance as you would push through fatigue in training. Remember, every great warrior I have known has been, in some way, a scholar of their own experience. They did not just live through their battles, they learned from them. They did not just accumulate techniques, they understood principles. This understanding came through reflection, and reflection came through writing. Let your writing be the bridge between experience and wisdom. Let it transform your daily struggles into lasting strength. This is how the warrior's mind is shaped, through the deep reflection that writing demands. Prepare for death. Daily, the first time I faced death, I was 7 years old. My uncle, teaching me the sword, nearly took my head with a wooden blade. In that moment I learned what most warriors take decades to understand. True power comes not from denying death, but from embracing it as your constant companion. You live in an age that hides from death, that pretends it is something distant and avoidable. You surround yourself with comforts and distractions, building walls between yourself and this fundamental truth. But I tell you now, the warrior who fears death is already dead. The warrior who accepts death becomes truly alive. Every morning of my life, I would wake and consider myself already dead. This was not morbid fantasy. It was strategic wisdom. When you accept death as an accomplished fact, two things happen. Fear loses its grip on your heart, and every moment becomes a gift rather than a guarantee. This is the foundation of warrior fearlessness. Think now of how you move through your days. How many of your actions are driven by the fear of death? How many of your choices are made in the desperate attempt to deny your mortality? This fear makes you weak. It makes you grasp at security that does not exist. It makes you hesitate when you should act and act when you should reflect. I teach you now the way of death awareness. Each morning when you wake, spend a moment imagining this is your last day. Feel the weight of this truth in your body. What would you do differently? What fears would fall away? What petty concerns would vanish in the face of this ultimate reality? This is not an exercise in morbidity. It is an exercise in clarity. The warrior who has made peace with death fights differently. His movements are clean, purposeful, unburdened by the need to survive. He acts with full commitment because he has nothing to lose. He is already dead. This is the paradox of warrior wisdom. Only by accepting death can you become truly unstoppable in life. In my duels, I faced many skilled swordsmen who were ultimately defeated not by my blade, but by their own fear of death. They fought to survive, and in doing so, they hesitated. I fought as one already dead, and in this freedom from fear, I found perfect clarity of action. This is the power of death awareness. It transforms fear into fuel. Create daily rituals that remind you of your mortality. When you wash your face, remember that one day your reflection will fade. When you eat, remember that one day you will eat your last meal. When you train, remember that one day your body will fail. These are not dark thoughts. They are lights that illuminate the preciousness of now. Your preparations and plans should be made with death in mind, not in fear, but in wisdom. How will your family survive without you? How will your work continue? What legacy will you leave? The warrior thinks of these things not with anxiety, but with the calm clarity of one who knows that death is not an if, but a when. When you truly accept your mortality, you begin to live differently. You stop wasting time on meaningless conflicts. You stop postponing what matters. You stop living for the approval of others. The awareness of death becomes a blade that cuts away everything non-essential, leaving only what is true and meaningful. Train as though each session could be your last. Love as though each embrace could be final. Speak as though each word might be the last thing someone remembers of you. This is not about living in fear. It is about living with full presence, full awareness, full commitment to each moment. The warrior's relationship with death is intimate but not morbid. Death becomes a teacher, showing you what matters and what does not. It becomes an advisor, helping you choose where to spend your energy. It becomes a friend, reminding you to live fully while you can. This is the deepest meaning of preparing for death daily. Learn to face your own mortality in silence and solitude. Sit with the reality of your death until it no longer frightens you. Feel the truth of it in your bones. You're temporary, fleeting, a brief flame in an eternal wind. This understanding does not diminish you. It heightens every moment of your existence. Remember, death is not the opposite of life. It is part of life. The warrior embraces both. In battle, this means fighting without the hesitation that comes from fear. In daily life, it means living without the hesitation that comes from fear. Let death be your advisor in all things. Let it guide your choices, shape your actions, inform your path. This is how you forge an unshakable spirit, not by denying death, but by making it your most trusted teacher. Practice the way, not the outcome. The weakest warriors I ever faced were those most desperate to win. They would strike with force but without foundation, attack with speed but without spirit. Their minds were so fixed on victory that they had forgotten the way of the sword. This is why they fell, not because they lacked skill, but because they chased the prize instead of perfecting the path. Listen carefully, for I will share with you a truth that took me 60 years of battle to understand. Victory is not a destination, to be reached, but a shadow cast by walking the correct path. The moment you begin to chase victory itself, you have already lost your way. The warrior's focus must remain on the way itself, pure, unshakable, absolute. When I developed my two-sword technique, I did not set out to create something new. I simply followed the truth of each moment, the logic of each movement, the wisdom of each failure. I was not trying to win. I was trying to understand. And in this dedication to understanding, rather than achieving, I discovered what others had missed in their rush to victory. Think of how you approach your own training. Are you practicing to get somewhere, or are you practicing to understand the practice itself? When you train, does your mind race ahead to future victories, or does it remain fully present with each breath, each movement, each moment? This is the difference between the warrior who grows and the warrior who merely strives. Your modern world is obsessed with outcomes, with metrics, with results, with visible signs of progress. But I tell you now, this obsession is poison to true mastery. The warrior who checks his reflection too often while polishing his blade will never achieve a perfect edge. The warrior who measures his progress too frequently will never progress deeply. Consider the way of water. It does not try to reach the ocean. It simply follows its nature. When it meets a rock, it flows around. When it finds a valley, it fills it. When it reaches a flat plain, it spreads wide. Water does not achieve its power by forcing its way. It achieves its power by perfectly expressing its nature. This is how you must train. Each morning when you begin your practice, empty your mind of goals. Do not train to become stronger. Train to understand strength. Do not practice to become faster. Practice to understand speed. Do not meditate to become wiser. Meditate to understand mind. The difference seems subtle, but it is the difference between forcing and flowing. In my years of teaching, I observed that students who focused on winning duels became rigid, predictable warriors, but those who focused on understanding the way of the sword became fluid, Adaptable, impossible to predict. The first group learned techniques, the second group embodied principles. The first group won matches. The second group mastered warfare. Your practice should be like the falling of autumn leaves, natural, continuous, unforced. Each movement should arise not from ambition, but from necessity, not from desire, but from truth. When you cut with your sword, do not cut to defeat an enemy, cut because the cut is true. When you step, do not step to reach a destination, step because the step is right. This is why I teach that form, and spirit cannot be separated. The warrior who practices forms without understanding their spirit creates empty movements. The warrior who seeks spirit without practicing form builds castles in the air. True mastery comes from allowing form and spirit to inform each other like two wheels of the same cart. You must learn to find joy in the practice itself, not in its results. When you polish your sword, be fully present with the polishing. When you practice your stance, be fully present with your feet on the earth. When you breathe your morning breath, be fully present with the breath itself. This is the essence of true practice. The way is like a mountain path that spirals ever upward. Those who fix their gaze on the summit stumble on the path. Those who fix their attention on each step find that the summit comes to them. This is the secret of all mastery, not to achieve, but to express, not to arrive, but to travel well. Your dedication must be to the practice itself, not to its fruits. These fruits will come. This is natural law. But the moment you practice for the fruits, you corrupt the practice. Like a flower that grows according to its nature, true mastery unfolds naturally through sincere practice. Remember, the warrior's way is not about becoming something you are not. It is about expressing what you truly are with perfect clarity. Practice to remove what blocks this expression. Train to reveal what is already present. This is how you find true victory, not as a goal to be grasped, but as a natural expression of walking the correct path. Embrace isolation as training ground. In my 30 years of wandering, I spent more time alone than in the company of others. Many thought this was a punishment, a bitter fate for a warrior. They were wrong. Solitude was not my burden, it was my forge. In isolation, I discovered strengths that company would have hidden, and truths that conversation would have obscured. You live now in an age that fears solitude. You surround yourself with constant noise, endless connection, perpetual distraction. When silence comes, you rush to fill it. When solitude approaches, you run to escape it. But I tell you now, the warrior who cannot be alone cannot truly be strong. The warrior who fears silence will never hear the deepest truths. Think of the blade being forged. It must endure the hottest fire alone. It must bear the hammer's strikes alone. It must face the grinding stone alone. No other blade can take its place in these moments. No company can share its transformation. This is how the warrior is forged. Through periods of intense, purposeful solitude, I learned my most powerful techniques not in dojos filled with students, but in mountain caves, where my only companion was silence. There, with no one to impress and nothing to prove, I could face my true weaknesses. There, with no one to teach and no one to guide, I had to find my own answers. There, in the embrace of solitude, I found my truest strength. Your isolation training begins with acceptance. Do not fill your solitude with distractions. Do not mask it with noise. Embrace it as you would embrace a strict but wise teacher. Let it show you what you have been avoiding. Let it reveal what you have been hiding from. Let it strip away everything that is not truly yours. When you train alone, you cannot rely on others' energy to motivate you. You cannot use others' eyes. To maintain your form, you cannot draw strength from any source but yourself. This is not a weakness of solitary training. It is its greatest power. In isolation, you learn to kindle your own fire, to hold your own center, to be your own master. Consider how a tree growing alone on a mountaintop becomes stronger than its sheltered forest kin. It must develop deeper roots. It must grow more resilient bark. It must learn to bend without breaking. The winds that threaten to destroy it become the forces that strengthen it. This is how you must use your solitude. Create periods of purposeful isolation in your life. 1 hour each morning before the world wakes. 1 day each week in silent training. 1 week each season in complete retreat. These are not escapes from life. They are dives into its deeper waters. In these times, you will find resources within yourself that company keeps hidden. Your mind will resist this practice. It will create 1,000 reasons why you must remain connected, engaged, surrounded by others. It will speak of duties, obligations, responsibilities. Listen to these thoughts. Acknowledge them, then set them aside. The greatest responsibility you have is to understand your own nature. This understanding comes most clearly in solitude. When you are alone, you will face your fears. You will meet your doubts. You will encounter your weaknesses. Do not turn away from these meetings. They are not your enemies. They are your teachers. In isolation, you can study them without shame, understand them without judgment, and transform them without pressure. Many warriors train their bodies and their techniques, but few train their ability to be alone. Yet, in every great battle, there is a moment when you are utterly alone, when no one can help you, when no one can decide for you, when no one can strengthen you. If you have not made friends with solitude, these moments will break you. Learn to find peace in silence. Learn to find strength in solitude. Learn to find wisdom in isolation. These are not merely skills, they are powers. The warrior who masters solitude becomes truly independent, not just in physical ways, but in the deeper realms of spirit and mind. Your time alone should be like the polish that reveals the blade's true nature. Each moment of solitude should strip away another layer of what is false, what is borrowed, what is merely learned, rather than truly understood. In isolation, you do not become something new. You reveal what you have always been. Make your solitude as deliberate as your sword strokes, as purposeful as your training. In the depths of aloneness, you will find a power that no external force can give you. This is the power of complete self-reliance, of unshakable inner strength. Remember, solitude is not a state to endure until company returns. It is a power to cultivate, a skill to master. The strength you find in isolation will serve you in every moment. Let your solitude be as sharp as a sword's edge, cutting away illusion, revealing truth, transforming weakness into unshakable power. Study all disciplines. The warrior scholar. Mindset. The weakest warriors I ever met were those who studied only the sword. Though their technique might have been perfect, their understanding remained shallow. They saw only the surface of combat, never grasping the deeper currents that move through all things. This is why I tell you now, to master any single path, you must study all paths. In my years of wandering, I studied not only swordsmanship, but painting, poetry, mathematics, architecture, and the ways of nature itself. Each discipline revealed secrets that strengthened my understanding of all others. The way water flows taught me about sword movements. The structure of bamboo revealed principles of strategy. The patterns of birds in flight showed me truths about timing and distance. You may wonder why a warrior needs to understand poetry or painting, but I tell you, every art contains the seeds of every other art, the principles that make a brush. Stroke powerful are the same principles that make a sword cut decisive. The rhythm that makes a poem memorable is the same rhythm that makes a combat sequence unstoppable. The warrior who understands this becomes impossible to predict, impossible to defeat. Consider how the mind grows stronger through diverse challenge. If you lift the same weight every day, your muscle adapts and stops growing. But if you vary the challenge, sometimes heavy, sometimes light, sometimes pushing, sometimes pulling, your strength grows without limit. This is how you must train your mind. Study history to understand strategy. Study mathematics to understand timing. Study nature to understand movement. I teach you now the way of the warrior scholar. Approach each new discipline with the mind of a beginner, but the spirit of a master. When you study architecture, do not think, how does this serve combat? Instead, think, what universal principles does this reveal? When you study poetry, do not seek tactical advantage. Seek to understand the essence of human emotion and motivation. The battlefield is not just a place of swords and spears, it is a place where all knowledge converges. The warrior who understands only combat understands neither combat nor anything else. But the warrior who understands the universal principles that flow through all things becomes master of every situation, whether holding a sword or brush, whether in battle or peace. Create a practice that embraces many arts. Each morning, train your body. Each afternoon, train your mind. Each evening, train your spirit. Let your study of combat inform your study of art. Let your study of art inform your study of nature. Let your study of nature inform your study of humanity. In this way, every moment becomes training. Every experience becomes wisdom. Do not be deceived by those who say specialization is the only path to mastery. They are like archers who perfect their aim but cannot move their feet, deadly in one situation, helpless in all others. True mastery comes from understanding the principles that underlie all skills, all arts, all ways of power. These principles are like the roots of a great tree, unseen but supporting everything above. Your study must be both broad and deep. When you learn a new art, learn it thoroughly. Do not be satisfied with surface understanding. Dig until you find the principles that lie at its heart. Then compare these principles with what you have learned from other disciplines. You will find that the deepest truths appear in all places, wearing different masks, but teaching the same. Lessons. In my dojo, I had students practice calligraphy before sword work. Many questioned this, but those who embraced both arts discovered that the same principles of breath, posture, and intent governed both. Their sword work became more fluid, their calligraphy more powerful. Each art strengthened the other. Learn to see the connections that others miss. The way a stone falls teaches about timing. The way wolves hunt teaches about strategy. The way bamboo bends teaches about resilience. Every phenomenon in nature contains lessons for the warrior who has eyes to see and mind to understand. Make your curiosity as sharp as your sword. When you find something you do not understand, turn toward it with fierce attention. The mysteries that seem furthest from the warrior's path often contain its deepest secrets. The answer you seek in combat may be hidden in the pattern of autumn. Leaves. Remember, knowledge without integration becomes mere information, heavy to carry, useless in battle. But knowledge properly integrated becomes wisdom, light to carry, decisive in every situation. Study not to collect facts, but to understand principles. Study not to overcome others, but to perfect yourself. Your mind should be like a clear lake, reflecting everything it encounters without distortion. Let art flow into combat. Let combat flow into philosophy. Let philosophy flow into practical skill. For in the end, the warrior's greatest weapon is not the sword, but the mind that guides it. And the mind grows not through single-pointed focus, but through deep understanding of all things. Endure discomfort. Without complaint in my life of warfare, I have seen strong men reduced to weakness, not by their enemies' blades, but by their own intolerance of discomfort. They could withstand sword cuts, but not cold rain. They could face death, but not hunger. They could endure battle, but not silence. Their breaking point was not in their body, but in their mind's resistance to discomfort. You live now in an age that worships comfort. You are surrounded by devices and conveniences that promise to remove all friction from your life. But I tell you this, comfort is a poison that weakens the warrior's spirit. Every convenience you embrace becomes a weakness you must protect. Every discomfort you avoid becomes a power you surrender. Think of how a sword is forged. The metal must endure the forge's heat, the hammer's strike, the grindstone's abrasion. If the metal could complain, if it could shrink from this discomfort, it would remain forever dull and useless. The sword becomes sharp and strong precisely because it endures this sequence of controlled hardships. Your training in discomfort must be like the sword's forging, deliberate, progressive, purposeful. Begin with small discomforts, cold showers, hard floors, simple foods. Embrace these not as punishments, but as opportunities to strengthen your spirit. Each discomfort you master becomes a source of power that cannot be taken from you. The warriors. Relationship with discomfort is not one of mere tolerance, it is one of active engagement. When you feel cold, do not simply endure it, study it. When you feel hunger, do not just bear it, understand it. When you feel fatigue, do not only push through it, learn from it. Every discomfort becomes a teacher when you approach it with warriors' mind. I learned this truth in the mountains, where comfort was not an option. The cold taught me about the warmth that comes from within. Hunger taught me about the sustenance of purpose. Solitude taught me about the company of my own resolved spirit. These lessons cannot be learned in comfort. They are written in the high text of discomfort and must be read there. Create training that deliberately introduces controlled discomfort. Sleep sometimes on hard ground instead of soft beds. Train sometimes in cold instead of warmth. Fast sometimes in place of feasting. These are not acts of self-punishment. They are acts of self-liberation. Each discomfort mastered is a chain of dependency broken. Your mind will resist this practice. It will generate endless reasons why comfort is necessary, why discomfort is harmful, why ease is wise. Recognize these thoughts for what they are, the voice of weakness seeking to maintain its hold. The warrior must learn to smile at this voice, then move forward into the discomfort it fears. Many seek to eliminate all stress from their lives, not understanding that certain forms of stress are like the tension in a drawn bow, necessary for power. The warrior learns to distinguish between destructive stress that weakens and constructive stress that strengthens. Discomfort, properly engaged, belongs to the second category. When I trained young warriors, I would watch how they faced discomfort. Those who complained revealed not the depth of their suffering, but the shallowness of their resolve. Those who endured silently, with full acceptance, showed the true warrior's spirit. Their power grew not despite discomfort, but through it. Your capacity for discomfort must be trained like any other attribute. Start where you are, then gradually expand your comfort zone by deliberately stepping beyond it. If you can sit in meditation for 10 minutes, try 15. If you can fast for 1 day, attempt 2. The only requirement is that you face each expansion with full presence and zero complaint. Learn to find the gift hidden within each discomfort. Cold teaches clarity of mind. Hunger teaches appreciation of sustenance. Fatigue teaches economy of movement. Hardship teaches resourcefulness. These lessons cannot be taught by comfort, cannot be bought with convenience, cannot be learned without engagement with discomfort. Watch how animals face discomfort. The wolf does not complain about the winter's cold. It adapts and grows a thicker coat. The eagle does not bemoan the fierce wind. It learns to use that very wind to soar higher. This is the way of the warrior, transforming what others avoid into sources of power. Make peace with the fact that growth requires friction. Just as a blade cannot be sharpened without the abrasion of the stone, your spirit cannot be strengthened without the friction of discomfort. Welcome this friction. Seek it out in measured doses. Let it do its work of refinement upon your character. Remember, the ultimate power lies not in avoiding discomfort, but in transcending it. When you can remain calm in conditions that make others agitated, poised when others become unstable, clear when others grow confused, then you have discovered true power. This is the gift that conscious engagement with discomfort offers to the warrior who dares to unwrap it. Train with intent, not emotion. In my years of teaching swordsmanship, I observed that the warriors who failed most spectacularly were often those who trained with the greatest passion. They would attack their practice with fierce emotion, pushing. themselves through intense sessions of training only to abandon their discipline when their feelings changed. Their practice was like a fire, burning hot but quickly consuming itself. You live now in an age that celebrates passion, that tells you to follow your heart and train with intensity. But I tell you this, emotion is like weather, changeable, unreliable, prone to extremes. The warrior who depends on emotion to fuel their training will practice only when they feel inspired, advance only when they feel motivated, persist only when they feel strong. Think of how water shapes stone. It does not act with passion or fury. It acts with constant, patient intent. Day after day, year after year, it follows the same course, wearing away resistance through persistent purpose rather than emotional force. This is how you must approach your training, not with the dramatic power of the storm, but with the unstoppable persistence of the river. I teach you now the way of intentional practice. Train not because you feel like training, but because it is time to train. Move not because emotion drives you, but because purpose guides you. Study not because passion inspires you, but because wisdom dictates the necessity of knowledge. Let your training be guided by clear intention rather than clouded by fleeting emotion. The difference between emotion-driven and intention-driven training becomes clear in times of difficulty. The emotional warrior practices intensely when feeling strong, then abandons practice when feeling weak. The intentional warrior maintains steady practice regardless of emotional state. This is the difference between a practice that serves your emotions and emotions that serve your practice. Your training must be built on foundations deeper than feeling. Establish clear principles, set regular schedules, maintain consistent standards. When emotion runs high, let it flow through you without disrupting your form. When emotion runs low, let it pass without diminishing your effort. Your practice should be like the moon's pull on the tides, steady, rhythmic, unaffected by the weather above. Create training protocols that do not depend on emotional state. Break each skill into clear, manageable components. Practice these components in a predetermined order for a predetermined time with predetermined focus. This is not about suppressing emotion. It is about preventing emotion from suppressing your practice. Many warriors believe they must feel ready to train effectively. This is backwards thinking. Effective training makes you feel ready. Begin your practice regardless of how you feel, and watch how proper form, focused attention, and purposeful movement gradually align your emotions with your intent. This is how you master your emotional state rather than being mastered by it. In my own practice, I discovered that the most profound breakthroughs often came during sessions I did not feel like doing. On cold mornings when my body resisted movement, in dark evenings when my mind craved rest, these were the times when, by choosing intention over emotion, I found deeper layers of understanding. Train especially diligently when you feel least emotional about your practice. These are the sessions that build true strength, not the strength of passionate exertion, but the strength of unwavering purpose. When you can maintain perfect form while feeling nothing, you have discovered the true path of mastery. Learn to recognize the difference between emotional intensity and intentional focus. Emotional intensity is like a blazing fire, impressive but unsustainable. Intentional focus is like a well-tended lamp, less dramatic but providing consistent light. Your practice should be lit by the steady lamp of intention, not the inconsistent fire of emotion. This applies not just to physical training, but to all warrior development. When studying strategy, do not wait for curiosity to drive you. Let purpose guide your learning. When practicing technique, do not rely on inspiration to move you. Let principle direct your movement. When developing skill, do not depend on motivation to sustain you. Let commitment carry you forward. Understand that emotions have their place in the warrior's life, not as guides, but as energy to be channeled. When emotions arise during training, Acknowledge them, then return to your focus on form and function. Let your emotions flow through the structure of your intentional practice rather than allowing them to reshape that structure. Make your training like the character you write each day, not a passionate scrawl that varies with your mood, but a deliberate rendering that maintains its essence regardless of feeling. Every stroke should be guided by understanding rather than impulse, by principle rather than passion. Remember, true power lies not in being driven by emotion, but in driving emotion toward purpose. When you can maintain perfect form while angry, execute precise technique while afraid, and hold steady practice while unmotivated, then you have found the warrior's path. Train with intent, for this is the way of greatest growth. Live as though watched by ancestors. When I taught young warriors, I would often see them practice differently when they thought they were being observed. Their movements would become more precise, their focus sharper, their discipline stronger. But the true warrior knows that we are always being watched, not by the eyes of the living, but by the eternal gaze of those who came before us, who forged the path we now walk. You live now in an age that worships the moment, that celebrates the new and dismisses the old. But I tell you this, true power comes from living as though your every action is witnessed by the countless generations of warriors who preceded you. Their standards become your standards. Their wisdom judges your choices. Their spirit strengthens your resolve. Think of how you would move if the greatest warriors of history were watching your practice. Would you allow your form to grow sloppy? Would you permit yourself to take shortcuts? Would you indulge in laziness or excuse weakness? Of course not. You would strive to demonstrate mastery worthy of their attention. This is how you must live. Every moment, I teach you now the way of ancestral awareness. Train as though Yagyu watches your sword work, as though Takuan observes your mindset, as though every warrior who ever lived scrutinizes your development. This is not about fear of judgment. It is about aligning yourself with the timeless standards that created and sustained the warrior's way. When you clean your sword, do it with the same care you would use if the master swordsmith who forged it were watching. When you don your training clothes, arrange them with the same precision you would show if the master who first designed them were present. When you enter your training space, do so with the same reverence you would display. If all your predecessors were gathered there, the warrior's life must be lived in the constant awareness of lineage. Every technique you practice was paid for with the blood and sweat of those who developed it. Every principle you learn was purchased with the dedication of those who discovered it. Every tradition you inherit was forged in the fires of countless lives devoted to mastery. Create within yourself a council of ancestors. Before making important decisions, imagine presenting your choices to this council. Would they understand your reasoning? Would they respect your priorities? Would they recognize in your actions the same spirit that guided their own? Let their imagined responses guide you toward right action. Your daily habits reveal your true relationship with the warrior's way. Do you maintain your equipment as though the craftsmen who made it were watching? Do you treat your training partners as though the founders of your art were observing? Do you carry yourself in public as though generations of warriors were evaluating your bearing? Many believe they can walk the warrior's path alone, guided only by their own understanding. This is like trying to cross an ocean without a map, ignoring the charts drawn by thousands who made the journey before. The wise warrior knows that true independence comes not from rejecting the past, but from deeply understanding and honoring it. Every morning when you wake, imagine the eyes of your ancestors upon you, not with judgment but with hope. Hope that you will carry forward what they lived and died to create. Every evening before you rest, ask yourself if your actions that day would have made them proud. This is not about living in the past. It is about living up to the highest standards ever achieved. Learn to recognize the difference between temporary acclaim and lasting honor. The ancestors care nothing for fleeting fame or shallow success. They watch for the deeper qualities: integrity in private moments, courage in the face of fear, persistence in the face of difficulty. These are the traits that mark a true warrior. Your training should be conducted as though the greatest masters ever to live were watching from the corners of your dojo. Would they see in your practice the same dedication they themselves displayed? Would they recognize in your movement the principles they gave their lives to understand? Would they feel their teachings were being honored? This way of living demands more than occasional ceremony or ritual respect. It requires constant awareness, persistent mindfulness, unwavering dedication to standards. The ancestors' eyes are upon you not just in formal practice, but in every moment, how you move through the world. Their gaze is not meant to burden you, but to elevate you. Their presence is not meant to constrain you, but to inspire you. Through their watchful eyes, you connect to something greater than yourself, a lineage stretching back through time, each warrior holding to the highest standards. Remember, you are not just a solitary practitioner. You are a link in an eternal chain, connecting past to future through your present actions. Let their wisdom guide you. Let their standards elevate you. Let their spirit strengthen you in walking the true warrior's path. Keep no opinions on matters you do not understand. In my years of wandering, I encountered many warriors who spoke endlessly of battles they had never fought, of techniques they had never mastered, of wisdom they had never earned. Their opinions flowed like water, but their understanding was shallow as morning dew. These warriors were defeated not by their enemies' swords, but by their own loose tongues. You live now in an age where everyone has an opinion about everything, where the least informed speak the loudest, where shallow knowledge masquerades as deep understanding. But I tell you this, true power comes from knowing the boundaries of your knowledge. The warrior's mind must be like a well-forged blade, sharp where it has been ground, honest about where it remains dull. Think of how a master swordsmith speaks about his craft. When discussing steel, he has folded. Techniques he has mastered. Principles he has proven. His words carry the weight of experience. But when asked about matters beyond his forge, he remains silent or acknowledges his ignorance. This is not weakness. It is the strength of true understanding. I teach you now the way of intellectual humility. Speak with authority about what you have personally mastered. Maintain silence about what you have merely heard, and acknowledge openly what you do not yet understand. Your opinions should be like your sword cuts, delivered only when you are certain of their truth, executed only from a position of genuine knowledge. The difference between true understanding and mere opinion becomes clear in times of crisis. Those who speak from experience act decisively and effectively. Those who speak from opinion hesitate and fail. One warrior who truly understands a single technique is worth more than 1,000 warriors who have opinions about every technique. Your knowledge must be tested like a sword's edge, through direct experience, through practical application, through honest failure and legitimate success. Until you have tested an idea in the forge of personal experience, hold it lightly as a question, rather than an answer. This is not about doubt. It is about the pursuit of genuine understanding. Create clear distinctions in your mind between what you know, what you think, and what you merely wish were true. When speaking of combat, speak only of techniques you have personally executed. When discussing strategy, reference only principles you have personally verified. When teaching others, share only knowledge you have deeply embodied. Many warriors believe they must have an answer for every question, an opinion on every matter. This is the pride that comes before defeat. The truly powerful warrior is not afraid to say, "I do not know," or "I have not experienced this." Such honesty becomes a foundation for real learning, while premature opinions become barriers to true understanding. In my own practice, I discovered that my deepest insights came after admitting my ignorance. On the days when I approached training with an empty cup, wisdom flowed freely. On the days when I believed I already understood, I learned nothing. This is the paradox of knowledge. It comes most readily to those who acknowledge how little they truly know, learn to recognize the taste of real understanding versus mere opinion. Real understanding has a solid foundation, like a stone wall built on bedrock. Mere opinion is like a wall built on sand, impressive perhaps, but unable to withstand pressure. When you speak from true understanding, your words carry the weight of reality. This principle extends beyond combat to all aspects of life. When discussing matters of commerce, speak only of trades you have made. When talking of leadership, reference only those you have led. When advising others, draw only from challenges you have personally overcome. Everything else should be offered as speculation, not certainty. Your skills should be like a candle in the darkness, illuminating clearly what lies within their reach, acknowledging honestly what lies in shadow. Do not claim to light the entire world with a single flame. The warrior who understands the limits of their knowledge has taken the first step toward expanding it. Make your words as careful as your sword strokes. Before speaking, ask yourself, do I know this, or do I merely think this? Have I tested this, or am I repeating others? Is this understanding earned through experience or borrowed from hearsay? Let your silence be as powerful as your speech. Watch how the moon moves through the night sky. It illuminates what it can reach, leaves in darkness what it cannot touch, and never pretends to shine where it does not. This is how your understanding should be, clear about what it illuminates, honest about what it leaves in shadow. Remember, true power lies not in having an opinion about everything, but in having deep understanding of what matters. When you acknowledge your ignorance, you open the door to learning. This is how wisdom grows, through the patient cultivation of understanding rather than the collection of untested opinions. Be unmovable in purpose. In all my years of dueling, I observed that the warriors who fell were not those who lacked skill, but those who lacked certainty in their purpose. They might have mastered 1,000 techniques, but in the crucial moment, their spirits wavered. Their doubt became a gap through which defeat could enter. The warrior who knows his purpose moves like an arrow in flight, direct, unwavering, unstoppable. You live now in an age of endless distraction where purpose dissolves into 1,000 fleeting desires. But I tell you this, true power comes from having a purpose as immovable as a mountain, as unchanging as the stars. When you know with absolute clarity why you walk the warrior's path, no force on earth can turn you from it. Think of how water flows down a mountain. It does not question its direction. It does not stop to consider alternatives. It moves with absolute certainty toward its destination, carving through stone, flowing around obstacles, but never deviating from its essential purpose. This is how your dedication must be, natural, relentless, unstoppable. I teach you now the way of unshakable purpose. First, you must know with perfect clarity why you train, not the surface reasons, not the easy answers, but the deep truth that will sustain you through decades of practice. This truth must be simple enough to state in a single breath, yet profound enough to fill a lifetime of dedication. Your purpose must be like the North Star, constant, unchanging, always visible, no matter how dark the night becomes. When you are exhausted, it guides you. When you are confused, it orients you. When you are tempted to stray from the path, it calls you back. This is not stubbornness. It is the foundation of all true achievement. Create clear alignment between your daily actions and your ultimate purpose. Each practice session, each moment of study, each decision must flow from this central truth. When you clean your sword, it is not mere maintenance. It is an expression of your purpose. When you train your body, it is not mere exercise. It is purpose in motion. Many warriors fail because they mistake temporary goals for true purpose. Winning a duel is a goal. Mastering a technique is a goal. But these are not purposes. They are merely steps along the way. Your purpose must be deeper, more enduring. It must be something that remains meaningful even after every goal has been achieved. The strength of your purpose will be tested not in moments of triumph, but in moments of doubt. When the path seems endless, when progress seems impossible, when others abandon their training, these are the moments when unshakable purpose becomes your greatest ally. It carries you through darkness that motivation cannot penetrate. In my own journey, there were countless opportunities to turn aside, to choose an easier path, to accept a smaller version of mastery. But my purpose was not to be good enough. It was to understand the deepest truths of strategy, to forge myself into a weapon of perfect clarity. This purpose drove me forward when all else would have held me back. Your dedication must be like a great mountain, unmoved by the storms that rage around it. When others question your path, your purpose remains clear. When difficulties arise, your purpose remains unchanged. When success comes, your purpose continues to guide you. This is the way of the true warrior. Make your purpose larger than yourself. The warrior who trains only for personal glory will find their resolve weakening in times of hardship. But the warrior who trains to honor a principle, to protect what is valuable, to understand truths that will outlive them, this warrior's purpose becomes a foundation that nothing can shake. Learn to distinguish between what changes and what remains constant in your training. Techniques may evolve, understanding may deepen, methods may improve, but your central purpose remains the same. It is like the axis around which all other aspects of your practice revolve. Your purpose should be felt in every cut, every stance, every breath. It should inform how you clean your sword, how you enter the dojo, how you treat your training partners. Let every action be an expression of this single, unified intention. This is how purpose becomes power. Watch how the oak grows, never questioning its upward reach, never doubting its essential nature. Through storm and drought, through summer and winter, its purpose remains unchanged, to grow toward the light. Let your dedication have this same natural, unwavering quality. Remember, true power comes not from the techniques you master, but from the unwavering purpose that drives their mastery. When you move with absolute clarity of purpose, hesitation vanishes. When you live with unwavering dedication, obstacles become opportunities. This is the way of the warrior. Not many paths walked partially, but one path walked completely. Leave nothing undone. Die with your sword drawn. I have seen many warriors die with regret in their hearts, not because they feared death, but because they left their work unfinished. They died with techniques half-mastered, with insights half-formed, with purposes half-fulfilled. But the true warrior approaches each day as if it were their last, leaving no essential task undone, no necessary word unspoken, no vital deed incomplete. You live now in an age that celebrates beginning many things, but finishing few. Your world overflows with half-completed projects, abandoned pursuits, unfinished business. But I tell you this, true power comes from completion. The warrior's way is not to die with 1,000 tasks begun, but with one great purpose fulfilled. Think of how the master swordsmith forges a blade. He does not leave the steel half-folded, the edge half-sharpened, the handle half-wrapped. Each step must be completed with perfect attention before moving to the next. The blade is not finished until every detail has been attended to, every aspect brought to completion. This is how you must approach your life's work. I teach you now the way of completion. Approach each task as if it were your last, each technique as if it were the final one you would ever perform, each day as if it were the culmination of your path. This is not about rushing. It is about bringing everything to its proper conclusion, leaving nothing essential undone. Consider what it means to die with your sword drawn. It means you were engaged until the end, committed to your purpose until the final moment. It means you did not withdraw from life's battles, did not shrink from your responsibilities, did not leave your most important work unfinished. This is the warrior's way of completion. Your training must embody this principle. When you practice a technique, complete it fully. Do not stop halfway. When you study a concept, understand it deeply. Do not remain satisfied with surface knowledge. When you make a commitment, fulfill it entirely. Do not leave loose ends. Each action should be brought to its natural conclusion. Many warriors fail because they constantly seek new beginnings without honoring the need for completion. They start 100 techniques, but master none. They begin 1,000 practices, but perfect none. They make countless commitments, but fulfill none. This is not the way of power. It is the path of eternal incompletion. The strength of completion becomes most apparent in times of difficulty. When the path becomes challenging, the warrior who understands completion pushes through to the end. When others abandon their purpose halfway, this warrior persists until the work is done. This is not stubbornness. It is the expression of unwavering commitment. In my own life, I wrote the Book of 5 Rings knowing death approached. I did not leave my understanding half expressed, my insights half recorded, my legacy half formed. I completed what needed to be completed, said what needed to be said, transmitted what needed to be transmitted. This is how the warrior faces their final days, bringing all essential things to completion. Your daily practice must reflect this dedication to completion. Begin each day by identifying what must be done. End each day by ensuring it has been done. Do not carry unfinished business into tomorrow unless absolute necessity demands it. Let each sunset find you with your essential work completed, your necessary words spoken, your vital duties fulfilled. This principle extends beyond mere tasks to the whole of your development. Do not leave your character half-formed, your skills half-developed, your understanding half-realized. The warrior's path demands complete development, not just of techniques, but of the whole being. This is what it means to die with your sword drawn. To be complete in your becoming, learn to distinguish between what must be completed and what can be left undone. Not every task demands completion. Not every path must be followed to its end. But those things that are essential to your purpose, those actions that embody your warrior's way, these must be brought to completion regardless of difficulty. Make your life like a perfectly executed sword cut, complete, clear, decisive. Nothing left halfway, nothing abandoned before its proper conclusion, nothing essential left undone. This is not about perfection. It is about completion. The difference is crucial. Perfection paralyzes. Completion empowers. Watch how a master archer releases an arrow. The draw is complete, the aim is complete, the release is complete. Each aspect of the action is brought to its full expression before the next begins. Nothing is left unfinished in the sequence. This is how your life should be. Each essential action brought to its proper conclusion. Remember, we do not know which action will be our last. Therefore, every important action should be executed as if it were final. Every significant word should be spoken as if it were our last. This is how the warrior lives, not in fear of death, but in awareness of the need for completion.